Everybody, welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Today, I'm very excited to bring back one of my very favorite guests, Preston Dennett. Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986 when he discovered that his family, friends, and coworkers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Since then, he has interviewed hundreds of witnesses and investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He is a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network, also known as MUFON. He's a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, and the author of over 30 books and more than 100 articles on UFOs and the paranormal. You can find more about Preston Dennett at www.prestondennett.weebly.com. All of the links are featured below in the description, and I encourage you all to check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and share my content with your friends. If you are sure that you've already subscribed, please double check, because I've been getting comments from some of my viewers telling me that they were subscribed, they know they were, and now they are unsubscribed. So as soon as I hit about the 2,000 mark, for some reason, YouTube started unsubbing some of my viewers. So please do check that out. And I'm very happy to announce that you can join my channel, and that will help to support my work. And then you get to enjoy my perks like members only videos. And I have one last announcement, and that is, although I am using AI for my background today to create the image, I want you to know that this show is completely AI, well, except for the image, completely AI free. So that means that you're not getting scripts written by AI. You're not getting information pumped out by any AI. You're not getting anything like that. You're only getting the real thing from real people with real experiences. And with that, very excited to bring on Preston. Preston, how lovely to see you. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from the Shag Harbor conference in Canada. Dolly and I went and we both presented. She talked about her experiences.
Yeah.
I talked about Canadian cases. So
Mm-hmm.
that was all kinds of fun, but a lot of work. And
Yeah.
we took, I think it was 6 airplane flights to get there and back. So,
Whereabouts in Canada?
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. Yeah. So you would have to take 6 planes to get there. Oh my gosh.
I think that's right. Maybe it was 5. It was about
Still,
that.
that's quite a lot. And you both got to present. Was it a 2-day, a 3-day conference? Do you remember what it was?
It was over the weekend. It was essentially mostly one day, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was the tour of
Mm-hmm.
the Shag Harbor has one of the most famous USO events. It's probably Canada's most famous case.
Oh, I didn't even know about it. I'm sorry. I'm a bad Canadian. Go ahead, Preston. Talk a little bit about it if you like.
Yeah, well, the wonderful Chris Stiles has worked closely with MUFON for a long time. He kind of stumbled into this case involving a apparent disabled UFO, a disabled craft, which came down over Shag Harbor. This is, of course, the east coast of Canada. Tiny little fishing town. It's beautiful. Canada is amazingly beautiful. I was like, wow, gorgeous country. And this craft this is so amazing, Karen, because about, there were probably 100 witnesses to this event, with seeing this craft come down, float on the water, go underwater, remaining there for hours. The Navy came out. This craft actually traveled for about 2-3 days before another craft apparently came down and performed what looks like a rescue of some kind, and they
Uh-huh.
both took off. But a really well authenticated. The government got involved. They released statements on it saying that this was a true event. Really amazing. Chris Stiles has a book on it. Oh, a couple of books. Shag Harbor UFO Incident, and yeah, it was amazing. So that's the Shag Harbor Conference, and he spoke about that. And there were other speakers, of course, Mark D'Antonio and uh, Darcy Weir. He had some very interesting things to say. And, Dolly and I got to speak. So yeah, it was all kinds of fun.
Wow, sounds fantastic. So when was that sighting over Shag Harbor? What year was that?
Oh gosh, I think it was 1967. Now, please forgive me if I'm a year or two off, but I'm pretty sure that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and we got to see the actual site. And there's still witnesses. There's an old man who he's a riot because he's like an old salt, an old fisherman, and just lays it out in black and white exactly what he saw, how far away the craft was. The
Uh-huh.
Coast Guard actually put out a little boat and was driving back and forth, showing us exactly where this thing was. So it was very cool. It's an amazing event.
Mm-hmm. Wow, sounds like it. Yeah. Wow, I keep planning, saying next year I'll go to a UFO conference, but then the years come and the years go by so fast, and I still have yet to make it to one. I got invited by Brian Singh to the conference in Florida next year, but I'm not sure yet. And besides, there's all these rules about what you need now to cross into the US, and as far as ID and all that kind of stuff goes too. So I have no idea if that's going to happen or not, but we'll
Yeah, I
find
was
out.
surprised because we had passports and everything, but Canada is very careful who they let in. We
Yeah,
went through a whole process. It was very interesting.
you did. Oh, that is interesting. I want to say thank you to Namaste for the $4.99 generous um um I forget what's a chat and what's a shout out. But anyway, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate your support. I also just want to take a minute to again say hi to Denise. Denise is my wonderful moderator. She puts all the kind of interesting content up in the live chat so people know where to find my guest. And I just love you to bits, Denise. You do such a great job, and she's just here for every show. Kristen is another one who is here for pretty much every show. I really appreciate you. And of course, Kalina Angel, thank you very much. And again, thank you for the super chat from Namaste. Very, very kind of you. Thank you very, very much. So, yeah, there's so much going on, and there's like so much disclosure. You're just tripping on it no matter where you go. Oh, I just want to say hi. Kristen, thank
Wow.
you for the $19.99 super chat. Very, very kind of you as well. Thank you. Thank you so, so very much. I mean, I don't expect you guys to have to make donations, but when you do, I'm thrilled to bits. It really helps a lot. There are so many expenses with running a channel. It's insane. People have no idea. Oh, I want to say hi to Polly
Kelly.
Rotterman. Hi, Polly. Um, I believe that's a friend of yours, Preston. She's a big follower of yours. So it's very nice that you made it here today, Polly. I mentioned in the title 10 weird UFO cases, and I don't want you to have to stick to that completely, but please, I thought it would be kind of fun if we took a walk on the wild side and we talked a little bit about some of the weirder stuff. And Yeah, Preston, you have so much information and knowledge. You've met so many people. You've been at this for quite a while, publishing over 30 books. Oh my gosh, all the magazine articles. You are my go-to ET expert for sure. So where would you like to start us off, Preston, today?
Well, I was thinking about it, and there are certain cases I've investigated that just kind of touch me profoundly for some reason. They're a little bit different. They're very emotional, or have some unique aspect to them. And
Mm-hmm.
and one that comes to mind is this lady I interviewed from California. Her name is Geneva, and it's funny. She reached out to me. She says, "You know what? I actually met you back in the '90s when I was speaking at some little MUFON meeting. She wasn't ready to tell her story at that time, but she said maybe one day I'll contact you. Honestly, don't remember. I meet a lot of people, but she reached out to me not too long ago and said she's now ready to share her story. And boy, what an interesting account she has. There's just some certain details that I think provide some really important insights into how ET contact why it happens and how it happens and why they're here. So her case began when she had this terrible argument with her boyfriend. And she was also having just a hard time with life. Events catch up to you, and she was a little depressed. So then comes this fight with her boyfriend, and she decides, you know what? I need to take a drive. I'm just going to go out and take a drive. There was a place she enjoyed camping. So she decided to go up there because years earlier, when she was graduating high school, she and her friends went up to this one spot. It's a little abandoned helicopter pad in the Santa Clarita Mountains of Southern California. And just going back in time to, when she graduated high school, she and her high school friends went up there to celebrate their graduation. And it was at night, and a few of them started shouting, "Hey, look, what's that? Oh my God, a UFO." And she turned around, Geneva did, as quickly as she could, but didn't get to see it. And so half the people there saw it, half didn't. She didn't. She was really mad. She thought, because that would have been cool. She thought, I would love to see a UFO. So that's kind of the introduction to this story. She goes back up to this spot because she's depressed, had a fight with her boyfriend, and grabs a sleeping bag, some water, a few snacks, and heads up. It's like towards midnight. So, gosh, what year was this? Late 1990s, I think. At any rate, uh, she drives up there. It was 1996. That's right. She drives up there. It's completely isolated. Now it's built up, but back then there was really no houses around, no lights. It's complete wilderness. She drives up. She sets up her sleeping bag and starts to meditate and decides she's going to do what's called primal scream therapy. I'd vaguely heard of this, but it's basically just shouting out your problems to the universe, handing over your pain and your woes and just screaming, you know, venting your emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what she's doing. She's just screaming out, why does life suck so much? And she used a lot of curse words and just getting all this stuff out. And that's when she noticed this light pop up from behind a ridge a couple of miles away and drop down. Didn't think anything of it until it popped up again and started to move directly towards her in a straight line. So at this point, she stopped screaming and she's looking at this thing like, must be a helicopter. But it's coming right towards her and it's sending down a beam of light onto the ground that's bright enough where she can see the vegetation. And as it gets closer and closer, she's really beginning to wonder, what this is. And her first thought was, it's a police helicopter. Somebody heard her screaming. They've sent someone to look for her. She's now going to feel like a complete fool when they find her. And because it was approaching her, it became clearer and clearer to her because this thing was making a beeline towards her. And then it was within a half mile and then a quarter mile. And suddenly it's, 1,000 feet away or so. And she gets this huge flash of fear because it's not making helicopter sounds or any engine noise. And suddenly it's right above her and it beams her. It sends down this really powerful beam of light, which brings her to her knees in fear. She's trembling. She's absolutely terrified at this point and wondering, what this is, because she has no idea. She has no idea what this could possibly be. And that light stayed on her for almost a full minute. And then it retracted, and this thing came down even lower, low enough where she could hear this buzzing noise. So it was very unusual. It was very much like a hum, like a beehive is how she put it. And that kind of rang a bell to me because I've heard that description many times. And she says this thing just stayed there. And she was really terrified, thinking, are they going to take me? Is this going to kill me? What is going on here? And she found herself finally getting over the fear a little bit, at which point it came closer. The fear ramped up, this thing moved back. Her fear dissipated and it would move closer. Then she became afraid and it would move back. So she started to realize that it was interacting with her. Started asking it all kinds of questions like, who are you? Why are you here? Are you going to take me? What's going on? And didn't get any answer. But she said it was absolutely beautiful. It had rainbow colors in it. And at times she could swear she saw a humanoid figure inside of it. She's not 100% sure about this. But she started to feel this real sense of connection to it, this real sense of belonging, this real sense that it was there for her, that it had come because she was, crying out in such desperate pain. That was another thing that really rang a bell for me, because I can't tell you how many cases I've had where I always ask this now, where people have an encounter at some pivotal moment in their life. They may have just broken up with a spouse or a partner. It might be their birthday. They might be super depressed. They might have been diagnosed with an illness, some big event in their life. And this is when these things show up. But what's so unusual about this case is it didn't go away. It was there for hours, pretty much all night. She sat there and meditated with this thing, trying to get messages and never really got any. But finally, it's starting to get light. And she's completely over her fear at this point. She's like, whatever this is, it's here for me. I'm not afraid of it. And she could see the stars beginning to fade away as the sun's rising. And she's like, well, I'm going to go home now. Are you going to come with me? At which point it immediately darted away, super high speed. And that was kind of it. And this sent her on this quest to figure out what that was. And she talked to Native American elders. She talked to priests. She talked to researchers, because she's not sure this was a UFO, this was an angel, or what. She's open-minded to it. And here's where it gets really interesting, because she became, she's very psychic, and her psychic abilities ramped up a little bit after this, which is another pattern. So there's all these really interesting patterns in this case that exert themselves over and over again in close encounters. She decides to learn remote viewing. Okay. And she takes this remote viewing class. And if you know remote viewing, it's a whole process where it's very much like clairvoyance, or kind of like an out-of-body experience, except you don't leave your body. You just try to look and see things that are beyond visual range. And these were other students. And so she decides, everyone creates a target, like, you go look at the sinking of the Titanic or the moon or what have you. And she decides, I'm going to put my UFO sighting down. And she wrote UFO sighting and the date and the time, and that was assigned a random number. That random number was put in an envelope and handed to this other student. And the other student does her remote viewing on Geneva's event and writes down UFO abduction. I see you in Mexico, and a few other things like this. what's really interesting is just following that UFO encounter, she had this dream that she was taken up in a craft and transported to Mexico and dropped down and put in a village where she met all these kids, and it came back and took her back. And following that, she had all kinds of dreams of being taken on board a craft where the bottom would turn transparent. She could see her whole town. She lived in Ojai at that point. So that seemed like an absolute spot on target to her. But what's so interesting to me is that it transformed her life. Her depression
Mhm.
lifted. She told her boyfriend. He's like, wow, that's really cool. They made up. I think she ended up separating from him. And one day, this is years later, because she'd always like call for them, like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? She went out to take out the garbage and she sensed it. And suddenly a beam of light hit her, boom, and she heard the sound again. Never actually saw the object. And the beam retracted, the sound went away, and that was kind of the goodbye, I guess, goodbye message.
Wow. Wow. That's quite the experience. Yeah, often it happens for people when they're under strong emotions or having a huge crisis. And that tells me that ET is compassionate, at least in the experiences that I've had. So I want to I want to talk to you about another experience. First, I just want to quickly make sure I got everyone who donated today in the live chat. Kristen, thank you so much for the $19.99 donation, and also for becoming a new member today. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Denise, for being our awesome moderator, and also for the $19.99 donation. Very, very nice. And from Namaste, a $4.99 donation. Boy, you guys are really spoiling me today. I want to thank you so much for all of that. So that's very interesting. So she originally had a contact, and then she didn't have contact because she missed it, and her friends got to see it. But her friends got to see it, but she didn't get to see it. That's right, right? And
Yeah.
then later she went up because she was really in anguish, mental torment, and she was just screaming her sillies out. And then that's when she had contact again. So tell me if I have this part right. So then she met a remote viewer and she decided to put her own contact in the envelope. And the remote viewer not only verified her contact, but did the remote viewer then also open up her eyes to more contact than she realized, actually being a contactee?
Yeah, because these dreams that she had following the event, she's like, well, they're dreams. They seem real. But that one where she was taken to Mexico inside this craft was like,
Yeah.
that's a lot for an experiencer to process. Because when someone has an encounter, it often takes them quite some time to really accept or realize or connect the dots that they're an actual contactee. And
Mhm.
I asked her all kinds of questions. Her brother had a real close-up sighting. I'm like,
Mhm.
let me ask you about your connection to animals, because this is something that's almost universal among contactees. They have this incredible connection to the natural world.
Mhm.
And she laughed. She's like, well, my friends call me Snow White because the deer walk up to me. And she had a few really cool animal stories as well,
Mhm.
which kind of fit the bill there. And
Mhm.
I'm like, did you have any prior UFO sightings? And she's like, well, there was this one time. It's funny to me because it's so easy to dismiss things. I'm like, well,
Mhm.
I don't know. But then I start asking people these questions. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I did. She was driving along the freeway in LA. I know exactly where she was. There's this Anheuser-Busch brewery right along the freeway. And that's where she was. And there was this shiny silver object hovering right over it. And she's like, look, Mom, Dad, what is that? And they're driving and they're dismissive of it. And she's just a little kid. So she's
Mhm.
staring at it. And she says it was so reflective. You could see the sky and everything, the ground below it reflected on it. And then it wasn't a balloon because it was just sitting there. It was
Mhm.
not bobbing around. I mean, maybe a little, but it wasn't, floating along. So she connected that to her experiences. Uh, so yeah, it's a really interesting. The most interesting aspect to me was how it showed up when she basically called for it. I would call that a close encounter of the fifth kind
Yes, yes, I would too.
because I remember when my contact started. My mom died. I was 19 years old, pretty young. She was young too, 49,
Hmm.
and
Sorry to
oh,
hear that.
yeah, it was devastating. But it had a silver lining, as all things do. Because this really made me question life and become a seeker of life after death and this sort of thing. But I remember walking around the house at night, just lamenting, like, why? Where's my mom? Why do people die?
Mhm.
What kind of universe is this that this could happen? And that's when everything changed for me. That's when I started having
Mhm.
out of body experiences. That's when I found out UFOs were real. I started having contact. So that fits the pattern I see so often. There was a guy I was interviewing in Europe, and he had this real close-up sighting. I'm like, "Tell me what was going on with your life at that time." It's like, "Oh, I just broke up with my girlfriend. I loved her, and she didn't love me, and I was devastated." I'm like, "Yeah, that tracks."
Mhm. Yep, it sure does. So, I'm gonna ask you about another case that you and I haven't really talked about much, and, I know that you need to respect the privacy of the person, so maybe I shouldn't mention her name, even though she's probably passed on by now. Um, and so I had this very spiritual contact with this woman, and then,
I think I know who you're
you
talking about.
yeah, and then you read my book and went, "Oh my god, Karen, I interviewed that person," but she asked me to not mention her name because she was fairly well known, and, but we never really talked about her experience. Are you comfortable talking about her experience now or not? If not, we'll move on to another topic.
You must be psychic, Karen, because that's actually one of the things I was thinking of talking about with you
Oh,
today.
wow.
That's
Oh, wow,
amazing.
that's awesome. She's probably long since passed away
She
now, but,
has. She has.
but at the same time, I didn't wanna, infringe, on your agreement with her. So I don't know if you even
Yeah.
wanna talk
You know,
about it, but
just to be clear, I didn't speak to her directly. I wish I could have. She had passed by the time. But I spoke to someone who was with her when they
mhm,
both had an encounter, and
interesting.
his name is James Santiago. And I didn't have her permission to use her name, and I don't know if she ever
Mhm,
went public with her encounters. And because there's some really interesting aspects to her story, I'm like, no, I can't use her name. But you could probably read Karen's book. You might be able to figure it out. But at any rate, she's a famous artist. And James Santiago is a nightclub performer who I became good
mhm,
friends with. A terrific guy. I just took one look at him. I was introduced to him through a friend of a friend because he had all these extraordinary experiences. And I could almost read him because he looked like this magician from the Middle Ages. There was just something about his aura, and he was describing all kinds of really interesting ghost experiences and psychic experiences. A really fascinating man who is an incredible artist as well. So at any rate, he's in Calgary
yes,
and has to
Calgary.
get has to get to Vancouver for a show that he's doing, and usually always travels by plane. But this very famous artist says, "Well, I have to go to Vancouver and I'm driving. Why don't you just come with me?" And he's like, "I'm not doing that." And she convinced him. His How he knew her was his makeup artist is her daughter. And
Yes, I know her daughter too. I've met her daughter too. And that sounds exactly like something she would do. Hey, let's drive, you know?
and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And his daughter convinced him, just do it. It'll be fun. She's, you'll love her. She's amazing. She's quite eccentric, James said, with
Oh,
her
yes.
makeup and her gaudy jewelry, and just a really remarkable woman. Uh,
Hmm.
and so he's like, oh, okay, fine. And gets into this Monte Carlo, I believe it was.
Probably a Grand Am.
It was all decked up.
Yeah.
It was a really special car, and she told
Hmm.
him that she had all the copper removed from the car. And do you have any coins with you? Because they're out on the road now. They just started. And he's like,
Hmm.
copper? Well, yeah, I have coins. I've got a box of, you know, nickels and quarters and dimes in the back of the car. And she's like, would you mind getting rid of it? He's like, why? She says, because the UFOs are following me, and I think they use copper to track me. And he's like, oh no, who is this woman? What have I done? I've got myself into the situation. She's like, UFOs are following me. You'll see. So he agrees that he gives the change away to some lucky kid, and they head through the Rocky Mountains of Canada, which, I've never been there, but I looked it up. Wow, really intense mountain range.
Hmm.
Beautiful. And they're heading through the Rocky Mountains at night in Canada when she turns to him, she's driving, and says, do you feel the pressure? And James says, no. She's like, well, you will. We're about to have a UFO encounter. And he's like, oh God, here we go. And then he started to feel it. This was so interesting to me because I've heard other people describe this. And he said it wasn't painful or anything. It's just like this weird, almost atmospheric change, but it was pressing him into the seat a little bit. And it started to get stronger and stronger to the point it was becoming a little bit uncomfortable. And she said, are you ready? Here they come. They're about to come. And sure enough, this massive turquoise disc appears right over their car, 30 feet up, slightly ahead, sends down a perfect circle of light around them, illuminating the road and the car, and starts pacing their vehicle. She's terrified. She doesn't like it. She pushes the accelerator to the floor, and they're racing down these they're steep cliffs on one side. So he's terrified too, more of the driving than of this craft, which he says is indescribably beautiful. He said something that was really interesting to me. He says, Preston, when I saw that thing, it's like I had an enlightenment. I felt
Hmm.
more awake, more aware than I've ever been in my entire life. I've heard a number of people describe that sort of thing. It's like the veil is lifted. I am not sure
Hmm.
if this is just, like your belief system getting tossed out the window and now you've opened up to a whole new world, or if there's actually some sort of telepathic connection, perhaps both. But he said, he would have gladly gone on board, thought this was terrific, and she didn't. And this is where it's so weird. I have never heard this ever before or since. She turns to him and says, open the glove compartment. And he's like, okay. And she's like, empty it out. And there's a little latch on the bottom. This is the main reason why I kept her anonymous, because I don't know about what happens next. Well, I'll just keep going. She says, there's a little latch. Oh, click the latch. There's a secret compartment in there. Pull the object out. And so he unclicks the latch. It snaps on his hand. He's like, ow! Pulls out this heavy object wrapped in velvet. He's like, what's this? She said, open it up and put it between us. He opens it up. It is this enormous golden bracelet. He said it was so big, it would have to be for a giant. There's no way this could fit on a person's wrist normally and be comfortable. But it was definitely a bracelet. Solid gold, filigree all on the edges, and seafoam green. He says there were 6 seafoam green gemstones embedded into it. He said the workmanship was out of this world. Absolutely just stunning. So he's more interested in He's holding this thing. He's looking at the UFO. He's like, he's not sure what to look at. They're both so beautiful. And he's like, what is this? And she says, just hold it between us. So they hold it between us. She says, rub on it, rub on it, and this will get the UFO to go away. No, this is what she said. And they do. And after a few moments, the UFO darts off, and they see two of them later, right on a mountaintop, one ridge away. And that's kind of the end of the encounter. But he's like, holds up the bracelet, because she's like, put it back. And he's like, no, 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 not until you tell me what this is. Where did you get this? What's going on? Because she had told all these stories of, being an archaeologist. She said,
Yeah, she had artifacts for sure.
yeah, she said that she had explored these caves in Canada. Get this, Karen. She found Egyptian. She would be led intuitively. She's profoundly psychic. She's
She
being
was,
followed by
yeah.
the Canadian government. Lives out of her car in hotels. She's insanely rich, because she's very, very successful. She was led to these caves in Canada where she found Egyptian hieroglyphs on the wall.
Hmm.
And she said she went back there with, equipment and cameras to photograph them. It had all been dynamited, blown up.
Yeah.
Crazy. So he's asking, where did you get this bracelet? This is insane. She's like, well, the truth is, I was diving off the coast of Spain and my guides led me to it. They said, go
Hmm.
here, dive down to this shelf. It's right there. Go into this little, and there was this bracelet. She says it's an Atlantean bracelet. That's what she was told from the lost
Interesting.
civilization of Atlantis. How weird is that? I mean, talk about strange encounters.
Yeah, and yet I can vouch for a lot of it. I mean, I didn't know her really, really well, but my brother knew her better than I did. But when I met her, I was struck by her generosity, her kindness. I hung out with her and my brother for probably about a week. We were flying all over Calgary in her super cool car. And I didn't know about the glove compartment, to be honest. I did not know about that. But she would tell us all these stories of artifacts that she'd had, things she had found. She was very intuitive and very spirit led. The other thing that's interesting about this story, and it's absolutely true, is only weeks before meeting her is when I had these dreams, and my brother had the same dreams on the same nights without us talking to each other about it, that we were going to be whisked away to another world if we wanted to go. And we both said, yes, we wanted to go. This is in my book as well. And, but then the night we were supposed to go, nothing happened, but I started feeling really weird about it and having second thoughts. And the next day, my brother contacted me and said, oh my God, I don't know what happened, but they can't take us because the ship had some kind of accident. It involved fire and blowing up, and
Wow.
even the beings that were aboard, they're gone. And it was within 2 weeks of that he takes me to Calgary. It was interesting. We hopped the trains. We didn't buy a ticket. We did the hopping, the real hopping
Wow.
trains. Yeah, that was an ordeal in itself. We went to my friend's place. I won't mention her name. Met her. And then for about a week, she kept getting all these downloads that myself and my brother were actually preordained to meet here on earth during the time that we met. There was something important about it, and that she had to give me all this information. Well, in those days, I was kind of a little bit overwhelmed and, not knowing what was going on, had my own sort of pseudo ET contact. But she was amazing. She was very much loved by her grown children, by her community, but she was probably the most out there woman I had ever met. But I know one thing: if she told you, or if her friend told you this is how it went down, that's exactly how it went down. I swear to God, Preston, truth is so much freakier than fiction. It really is. It really, really
Yeah.
is. But I was so surprised to find out that you had such close contact with her. I had contact. What are the chances? Then you and I meet, later in our lives.
Yeah.
Ollie, everything checks out. If it wasn't for you, I never would have written my book. I never would have published my book. I have a very deep sense of gratitude to you and Ollie for all your encouragement, all your kindness. And isn't it funny how we're all connected somehow? It just boggles the mind.
Yeah, I love that. There's absolute guidance in this world. And one day I'd love to see how this all rolled out, with all the machinations that went into all of this. Because when I read that in your book, I just hopped off my seat. I'm like, whoa, that is amazing. James, when he describes this story, I became good friends with him. I'd be there when he would tell it to other people. He would get
Mm-hmm.
tears in his eyes. He'd get very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he had, I think it was him or a friend, had a bad abscess tooth. No, it was a friend. And Gert, or the lady, the witness, the artist said, I can heal you. Went in and closed the door. Wouldn't, they saw an eerie blue light and healed this guy of the abscess tooth, uh, and instantly. So she had healing abilities as well.
Yeah, I think she had a rod, some kind of a rod that emitted this blue energy. And I don't remember. I wish I had paid more attention to the things she had said and taught to me at the time. But that's what she used in a lot of her healing work. And yeah,
Oh wow!
she was number one famous for being an artist. She was one of Canada's top 10 artists, but she was also really well known for, I didn't know about ET contact, but I knew about her and the healing art. So that's just really warms my heart, that we can verify each other's experiences and also give, I think, some credit to this once great lady who I think she may have died, but I
She
believe her
did.
spirit goes on and on and on. And how wonderful that we can talk about her in this way. Yeah, she was amazing
It's so
and
cool
so
to
much
me
fun.
to think that there are people walking around on this planet who you would never know have these
Yeah.
kinds of experiences or these abilities, because they're just, it's amazing because most people don't talk about it. And as far as I know, she never did.
Oh, yeah,
And
because
what
if
a
you talk
story she
about
must
it,
have had.
people think you're crazy, or if you talk about it, they think you're evil. The one or the other, crazy or evil. And you get to the point where you don't want to talk to the uninitiated, let's just call it that, any more than you have to.
Yeah.
Preston, I'm wondering if you mind if I take a moment to just play a little bit more than 1 minute clip promotion for my book now that people
Oh,
can find it, and then we'll come right back. Thank you. Thank you
cool.
so
A good
much.
idea.
Thank you. Let's see, it's on here. Here it is. Learn about the stunning details of ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living spiritually, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors, introduces you to many different looking ET beings, the organic healing pods, the self assembling interior of the big ship, my ET buddy and the orientation process, cultural events like concerts and the joining of ships, as well as off world physical and non physical loving practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about ET origins, transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. My goal is to introduce you to the look, culture, intention, and technology of beings which are different than humans, in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so that you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy reading about my real life adventures and notice the things we have in common. So you will see that we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors is now available on Amazon worldwide. To gift yourself or someone you love, pick up your copies today. And we're back. Yeah, I
Yeah.
made that. I know it's a little early for the Christmas tree, but I made it so it was creeping along.
I
Um,
love that. Yeah, it's a good book. I recommend it. You
Thank
say a lot
you.
of things in there like, oh my, you're for real. You got real experiences. I don't doubt it for a second.
I don't doubt it either, but I'm always like, I don't expect people to believe me. But what I do hope from reading the book is that they will be more confident to start talking about their own experiences and also see the bigger picture. It's really about bringing love back to this planet. Love is in short supply with all the shenanigans going on, all the stressors, everything. But there is something that we can do to help improve our reality and the reality of all living beings, and that is learning how to love. But I won't get any more onto this. I just want to quickly check the chat. Um, let's see. Oh, Denise says, I totally recommend Karen's books. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Leah says, hi, Leah. Nice to see you. She says, love is like glue. And I don't know if I already mentioned yes, Polly's in the chat. Leah's in the chat. So nice to see everybody. That's awesome. So we got a few minutes left. Preston, what are you up to? I know you just came from a conference. Do you and Dolly have anything happening? Did you write I'm sorry, it's not that I haven't been paying attention, it's that I got a lot going on. Did you write Symmetry number 2? Did you get that published?
Working on it. Yeah, I'm glad you
Working
brought
on
that
it.
up because that's the next big project in terms of writing that I'm working on. And
Hmm.
it's so cool. I'm just so delighted. The first book was probably the most extensive case of contact, Dolly's experiences. But now we're diving deep into some other areas. There's still a lot of really cool little adventure stories, but we're going to learn about different dimensions, ETs, what they think of, what they taught her in terms of science and
Hmm.
consciousness and psychic abilities, which is, I think, just so sorely needed because there's all kinds of misconceptions
Yeah, there are.
going on and disinformation and fear and confusion and false narratives. And I am so excited. I'm about on page 80 or so, 90, and I'm having a tough time finding the time to do it. But I am doubling down on it because I think it's an important book. And I really can't wait to
It
get
is.
finished with it because we talk about how she did a schoolyard visitation because, I did a
Hmm.
whole book on that. We talk about how ETs have put on displays to basically prove their presence to humanity,
Hmm.
about what day-to-day life is like for the ETs, all kinds of really interesting topics. But yeah, going to other dimensions, that's a chapter
Hmm.
there. Ooh, it's so interesting.
That is going to be super interesting. Van Darkholm said that he's excited for Symmetry number 2. But for those of you who are anxiously awaiting a publication, go and check out Preston's website below and pick up Symmetry number 1 so you can get all the background information, how Dolly ended up having her experiences, her paranormal life, the different worlds that she's visited, three-dimensional worlds, also how she got to pilot one of the scout ships, on and on and on, how she actually helps out in, I'm going to call friendly abductions, where people have made, I'm guessing, agreements to be taken, and it's not anywhere near as frightening as what some people explain it as, but that how she's gone along on on some of those experiences. There's so much in there, so I really highly recommend that you get Symmetry the original and read it while you're waiting for Symmetry 2, and then when Symmetry 2 comes out, you can grab that and find out about the interdimensional aspects of Dolly's experiences. And I think, I don't know, I know there's a few more, but not too many. Preston, how many people in the world have had experiences like Dolly's or like mine, where we actually remember quite a lot, probably because we're meant to share it? But what's your take on that, Preston?
Oh, I think there's countless, many, many thousands at the very least. Most are smart enough not to go public. Uh, I've interviewed several hundred people, and I would maybe 5 have that level of recall. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because the problem is fear, honestly, and this is what causes many people to use words like abduction when really I'm
Mm-hmm.
not so sure it's accurate. I'm certainly not going to gaslight a witness if that's how they feel.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I respect that because it can be very scary. But what a delight to talk to people like Dolly, like yourself, who have a much greater recall and move past fear and aren't using hypnosis to recall their encounters. So I think there's many, many, many people who've had these kinds of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one day we'll find that out. But again, most people don't talk. Can't blame them either. The whole worldwide UFO cover up has really pulled a number on all humanity,
Mm-hmm.
really kind of pulled the wool over our eyes and made people gaslight witnesses, look at them as mentally ill or seeking attention.
Yep.
People are not seeking attention for this. Are you kidding?
No.
There's no way. They won't even let their names be used. They're not seeking attention. They're not making money off of this. All these ideas that, this is why people are coming forth to seek attention. That's completely misguided. Uh, that's the last thing contactees want.
Yeah, I mean, it guarantees you that you will be shunned and made fun of amongst your family members, some of your oldest friends. If you try to go to any kind of a spiritual event and you talk about it, or people know that you've talked about it, you're assigned as being evil, that you're consorting with demons. um
Yeah.
of course, there's the old "you're crazy," and we don't trust people that are crazy. I've lost so much in the way of um um family and associates, but I have gained more in the long run, because the people that I have met since I came out of the closet have been more my true friends. The kind of people that you could tell them anything and they still stand by you. Whereas the other ones, they they weren't. I mean, they, pardon the expression, but they weren't worth a fiddler's fart. They gave nothing in my life that enhanced my life or encouraged me or anything like that. But yeah, now I'm an old lady, so I don't care. I'm not looking
Uh,
for
well,
fame or notoriety. I don't care anymore.
that's why I always encourage people to speak to your loved ones, because if they
Mm-hmm.
truly love you, they will accept you and
Mm-hmm.
your experiences. And keeping something secret really just builds walls and
Mm-hmm.
separates you and makes you feel isolated and incomplete. It's really important, I think, to do the right thing in life, to tell the truth, and absolutely, I think that's. I'm not gonna. Everyone has to make their own choice with this because
Yeah, of course.
it can break up families and has, but it's also, I think, brings people a lot closer together.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I started talking about UFOs right as soon as I found out they were real. I was like 21 years old. My family, half of them thought, like, what's wrong with you? The other half were like, oh, wow, that's interesting. It's funny, there's 6 kids in our family. I've had contact. My little sister's had contact, my older brother, but my older sister and my 2 older brothers never did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely stressful on families, I think. But if we could all just, I'm very blessed to have a close family, so they never really shunned me or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they certainly thought I was a little nutty. But it
Yeah.
all came around at some point. So I think it's important to just tell the truth. And those who can't accept it, well, that's on them. It's not
Yeah.
your fault. It's
Mm-hmm.
on them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I agree with Polly. We are the disclosure. It's funny. It's funny that in Canada, we're having Thanksgiving actually tomorrow. And I've been invited to my son's girlfriend's families for dinner. And usually on the way there, my son and his girlfriend give me the list of things I'm not supposed to talk about. Well, I'm not going to mention the list and I'm just going to go. And if I feel like talking about it, I'm going to, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. My big thing is I don't want to make anyone else feel uncomfortable. That's not my intention. And I don't talk about my experiences to rub it in the face of people who are squeamish of the subject. But if it comes up, I don't think I should
Well,
have
yeah, that's
have.
what you said. If it comes up, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when people ask, then because I don't go around preaching like UFOs are real. Listen to me. No, no. But if I'll certainly mention it, and it's funny because people who might profess skepticism or disbelief later look around, close the door, like, gotta ask you some about an experience I had.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so this is why I think truth and transparency is so important because there are a lot of people having these experiences who don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah, that's right. They don't. And yeah. But I think another good reason for talking about it is because there is a lot of, I think, baloney or fake information being spread around to cause fear and division. And when we talk about our real life experiences, it also validates the legitimacy of what we've been experiencing and also separates, I think, the government propaganda from actual experiences. I think it's good for people to hear the true experiences, not just watch what they're seeing on the news.
Uh,
So, um, Preston, before I let you go, do you want to tell everybody about the Light Gate that's on tomorrow night? And you have a new Facebook group, UFOs and Healing, and anything else you want to tell the listeners and the viewers and where they can find you? Because some people will be listening to this on audio. And yeah, before I let you go, maybe you could share all that good stuff about you.
Yay! Thanks, Karen. I appreciate the opportunity. Um, yeah, I've got my YouTube channel. I release a new episode, usually about humanoids or something along those lines, each Friday
Mhm.
evening. Each Monday evening, Dolly, of course, is the subject of my book, Symmetry. We do our Lightgate podcast from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, bringing on new guests. So excited about tomorrow's show on Monday. That would be the 13th. We have Linda Powell, and she's wrote a book about Major Donald Kehoe, who is a hero of mine, a very early UFO researcher and disclosure advocate back at a time when nobody was even talking about the UFO cover up. So that's going to be all kinds of fun. I've got a website, prestondennett.weebly.com. You can read excerpts of my books there. Uh, and yeah, I put out this new Facebook group because I felt it was so important. I got tired of all the fear mongering. And I feel like there's probably going to be a false ET invasion, a false flag
Yep.
coming forth. And I'm like, no, no, no. People need to know that one of the main reasons people are taken on board, well, the main reason really, is all about healing. And so
Yes.
check out that group, The Healing Power of UFOs, because I am proving it in black and white. Don't believe me? You look at the evidence yourself, do the research. It's absolutely a healing event, UFO contact.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, you've been a huge inspiration to me, Preston. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I just want to thank Polly for the $6 donation. I'm not sure what currency that is, but I sure appreciate you, Polly. Thank you so much. And thank you, of course, to everybody who joined us in the live chat. I also want to say thank you to those that are listening on an audio podcast or those that are watching the replay. You mean so much to me. And yeah, so we'll see what's coming. What's coming. I agree, Preston. I think that they are going to do a false thing, and we'll just have to wait and see and keep telling our truths. And I guess that's about it. And so thanks again, Preston. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I guess, sorry, I got all these controls here to deal with. So I just say thank you and bye-bye. And we'll see y'all next Wednesday for the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.